I am Callum from Time Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of a Bailey Advance 665. So as we start walking around the driver's side of the vehicle first point you get to is your wheel flue for your boiler. So this is when heating water or operating the space heater on gas. It just allows the fumes out, so just make sure that's obstruction free at all times. You don't need to do anything with it, just leave it as it is. And the next point you get to is your main hookup point. So to hook the vehicle up, you get your hookup blade, lift the collar and expose the 3 pins, lift the flap on the van, and then connect to the vehicle. Always connect the vehicle first and then the power source, and do it in reverse order when unhooking to avoid getting electric shock or hurting yourself with the cable. When unhooking, the small lever, push it down to release the pins to pull the lead out the vehicle. Cassette toilet, so the first one, which opens with the Bailey key, all your locks do, is your header tank, which is your flush tank. So you need to put some pink liquid, mix it up in a jug or a watering can with some water, and tip it into here and fill that, because that's when you press your flush, your blue button on the top of your Fedford toilet, you'll get that into the bore. As it's not fed from the main freshwater tank, it's fed from this system. So just keep an eye on that, and once you hear the pump start to run dry, it's probably getting empty and you just need to top the system up. Below you've got your cassette, so making sure that the blade is in the closed position and the mechanism is disengaged. So that's when the blade's closed, the mechanism will disengage itself. When it's open, the cassette won't come out. You'll be able to lift the orange handle and slide the cassette free of the motorhome. You've got some wheels to drag it to your waste disposal site, which is normally beside your toilet block. And then to empty, remove the cap, press the button at the back and tip the content of the cassette out. Then you want to put some water in it, because there's normally a tap beside it, and give it a final rinse before going in with a cap full, which is 120 ml of the chemical, of either the blue or the green. It's up to your sites what they prefer you to use for their septic tanks. You've got another flue for your space heater. So there's 2 flues, so if you see water dripping from there, condensation, don't worry about it, it's just the heater flue. So do not touch it and do not obstruct it, because it'll be hot. Waste water outlet, so you need to remove the cap, and this is any water that you've put down a plug hole. Control the valve with the lever on the front, drive over the waste outlet site on the way out of your site, the dirty grey water waste, and open it up and get rid of that, because you wouldn't want to travel with the added weight of dirty water. So that's anything that you've drained off via a plug hole. Freshwater filler at the back, so that's when this key comes into play, the little round headed key with the lockable cap. Carry a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site. You'll need the screw on end and then the hose lock end. Put the flat end into the van, filter it either overflows or until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on the control panel. And then you can lock it in place. Twin camera, reverse camera, so when you engage reverse, you'll see right down the vehicle. When it's in any gear and neutral, you'll use this camera, which sees further back, so your far distance camera. 2 bike rack. Pop your wheels through here, tie these through the spokes to tie your wheels to the rail. Crossbars for the first bike, crossbars for the second. Then we recommend putting some bike lock around the bike frame and the bike carrier, just to stop the bikes from being stolen. And then you can pop these back down. External TV point, so if you're on a super site, carry some coax lead with you and you can connect to their aerial if you're having problems using yours in a hard to reach location. Just connects into the bottom there. It's an F-type connector though, so it's like the satellite cable, but it is just for a standard TV aerial. Gas locker, so you can get 2 bottles on here. So this is just our test bottle, and you want 2 6kg colour propane bottles. What you do is you'd pop it into here, into the holder, so it stands in there. Pop the strap round it to strap the bottle in for safety, and then it's a hand tighten pigtail, which is this pipe here. So opposite threads with the being gas, left to tight, right to loosen. You'd hand tighten and then you turn it on at the top of the bottle. Turn the bottle off before you start travelling, as if you were involved in any road collisions. The bottle being off is a lot safer than having gas being on when you're involved in any accident. Doors, manually lock the door with the Bailey key. So to the front of the van to lock, to the back of the van to open. We've got a Fiamma F45 awning there. I'll show you that on collection. 2 fridge vents. And then you do have a external 230 volt socket, so you've got to be hooked up for this one to work. But this is on the right side with it being your awning, so if you need power to power that electric barbecue, put power in the awning for guests, you can, because you've got a power socket there. Bailey weight plate, as Bailey are renowned for making caravans, they do put the stickers on the motorhomes as well. So it tells you your model, so Approach Advance 665, 3.5 ton, gross vehicle weight, mass and running order. So that's what it is, empty. So you would take 3.5 ton away from that, and that'll give you a payload, and then you've got your tyre pressures, so 80 psi all around. Diesel filler on the passenger door opens with the main Fiat Ducato key, and then because it's a new style diesel engine, it does have AdBlue. So this is a 19 litre tank, and it will do 5,500 mile off a full tank of 19 litres. But at 4,000 mile, you'll get a warning to say that the AdBlue level is low. So you'd simply buy it in the drum if you want. It's a little bit more expensive because you are paying for that plastic container, or you can buy it at the pumps now from most petrol stations. Pop it into there and fill it back up with whatever it needs. You'll know when it's full because it'll start leaking out the front of the filler nozzle. Tyre pressures again, tyre size, so 80 psi, which are cold pressure tyres. So check them when they're cold, not when they're warm. Tool kit underneath the passenger seat, which includes a jackknip brace and a tone eye. Engine batteries underneath this compartment, so you just need to get a coin or a flat-headed screwdriver, release these, and you'll be able to pull the battery out or put a charger on the battery should you be charging the battery when it's standing. And then the bonnet release is just on the side of the passenger dashboard. So if we'll have a quick look underneath the bonnet, you've got all your fluids underneath the driver's side, which is your left hand side. Main one you're going to need in the top corner, which is your screen wash. Take this cover off, 3 pins, and you've got power steering fluid and your coolant, followed by your brake fluid, your oil filler, your dipstick for checking your levels, paint codes on this sticker 210, an earth for giving or receiving a jump start because the engine's underneath, because the battery even is underneath the cab floor, and then positive terminal between the air filter and the passenger headlight. Just here, this little contact here is your positive for giving or receiving a jump start, and then you've got a weight plate again as it's on an Alco chassis. To operate the control panel above the habitation door, you've got a sign here that says that you're hooked up, which is a picture of a mains lead, which means you are receiving 230 voltage. If you didn't have this, you will just be receiving 12 volt. This button here is your master switch, so you press it once, it'll turn on, press and hold, and you'll be able to turn everything off, and it'll shut down all the systems. If you go up, you can see the battery level of your leisure battery, the voltage. Take the hook about to get a true reading. Press up again, you can see the amps coming off your leisure battery. Battery select, you always wanted to say leisure like it is now, because that's the battery that was designed to work the habitation side of the motorhome. If that says vehicle, it then is using the vehicle battery to power all your lights and 12 volt in the habitation side, and you don't want that because it can flatten the engine battery without you knowing it's using it. You've got your internal temperature, your user guide, so you press this button here to enter into the user guide. Your waste water level, so this is any water, grey water that you've drained off down the plug hole in the vehicle. Your level, your water level, which is your fresh water, so you've got 32% of fresh water on board in your main tank. And then you do operate the water heater and the space heater through this control panel. So it says off there, you press the enter button and it's turned it on. It's on 1 kilowatt of electric, because only one little wiggly line is illuminated. So to get another source, so 1 kilowatt is 750 watts. Press and hold this button here and it'll start flashing, and then you can use the arrows and either go to 2 kilowatts, which is 1500 watts, depending on the amperage the site gives you. You can go to 2 kilowatts of electric and gas, so if you are away in the winter and you're in desperate need of hot water, you can use this one here, and it should reduce the time it takes to heat the water. On that one, or you can use 1 kilowatt and gas, which is 750 watts and gas, depending on the amperage the site gives you. Or you can use gas on its own, and you just press enter once you're happy with the source you've selected. If you were wild camping, you would have no other energy source available other than gas. Then if you scroll from the water heater to the space heater, this is the heating of the vehicle. Off, press enter, you can turn it on. Press and hold, and you can select your energy type. So you've got 1 750 watts of electric, 2 1500 watts of electric, and 3 kilowatts of mains power. Press and enter to save, or you can go to 2 kilowatts, which is 1500 watts and gas if you're away in the winter and you're in desperate need to warm the vehicle up. Give this about 10-15 minutes with the gas on, then you want to turn it back to electric. So you want to then make sure that your electric's on, because you don't want to waste your gas if you've paid for electric. You've got gas on its own if you're away wild camping and you have no other energy source available to heat the vehicle other than gas. And then you do have the fan, so you can just recirculate the heat should you wish. Or if it's hot, you may want to put the fans on to cool the vehicle down. And then you've got the temperature of the vehicle. So this can go all the way up to 33 degrees. Or should I say 35 degrees. So you can select it. Once you're happy with it, just press enter, and that's put your heater for the inside of the motorhome on gas at 30 degrees. But this is all explained in the handbooks, but using the combination of these two buttons, up and down, and the enter button, you'll be able to scroll through the menu. On this side you've got your pump, so you can turn your pump on should you have enough water in your water tank, and then this will pressurize the water to the taps, toilet and shower. You've got the master switch for the light, which is this one here, which are all then individually switched around the vehicle. And you've got the awning light, which is on the outside of the motorhome. Top rear of the drop down bed, turn the key and then you can press the button and it'll send the bed down. Just press and hold the button though, don't just keep clicking at it, and that'll bring the bed down. Heads at that end, feet at the shorter end. You've got your ladder that clips on here, which is located on the inside of your washroom door. And it's just quite simple. Press and hold and the bed will go up. Top rear at the fridge. So the fridge is a Dometic 3-way fridge. So this is your 3-way selector. So at the top where it is now, the fridge is switched off. Turn it down to the plug, and this is mains 230 volt. So this will act like a household fridge on this setting. You would use this setting if you were on site, as you don't want to waste your gas. You've paid your site fees. Or if you were at home and you were pre-chilling the fridge a couple of days before, you put your and then the night before you go away, you put your shopping in. The next setting is the battery setting. So the battery setting is if you've pre-chilled the fridge. So say you've done what I've just told you, so a couple of days before you've hooked the vehicle up. Not only does it allow the batteries to charge, it allows the fridge to cool down to temperature, and then you can put your shopping in the night before. And then when you're ready to travel, either from site to site or from home to site, as long as it's been on and been pre-chilled and you've got shopping in there, you can pop it on the battery setting, which is a feed from the engine alternator. And all it does is it keeps the fridge nice and cool, like a 12-volt cool box, until you arrive at site and either go back to mains or you go all the way down to the bottom, which is gas. And then to ignite the gas, using your temperature, so when pre-chilling, have it on full. When you've got your shopping in, just knock it down, but press your temperature gauge in along with your spark ignition, and you want to see that orange band, you want it to go into the green, which it is there. Once it's in the green, you can let go, and that is the fridge lit on gas. But you use gas if you're wild camping. And then one last thing with the fridge, when you're not using it, you want to clean it out. You want to take everything out, give it a wipe out with some antibacterial wipes or sprays, and then you want to leave the door ajar. To leave the door ajar, on the side of the light unit, you can push this in and slide these 2 pins out. That'll then not allow the door to shut properly on itself, and as you can see there, there's circulation for air to come in and out of the fridge. Top rear at the oven, open the door, you've got your selector so you can select the oven. There you go, your oven's lit at the back. Or you can select above, which is your grill, and your grill's lit. Leave the door open so far with the grill, because if you shut it all the way, the grill goes out. It's just a safety feature on motorhomes, so you do have to leave the door open for this to work. And then when you're travelling, you may want to take your grill pan and your oven shelf out, as it can cause some vibration and rattling when on the road, or wrap them up with a tea towel to stop the vibrations. Underneath the oven, you've got 4 red gas isolation valves. So it tells you on here that when they're across in that position there, they're open. When they're in the other position, they are closed. Should there be any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually serviced. And then at the back, you do have the socket for your fridge on electric. Top rear at the hob, using the ignition on the front of the oven, you'll be able to then light your 3 gas burner rings. Once you've had them on, turn them off, allow them to cool so they're cool enough to touch before you put the hob top down, because you can't shatter this with a pane glass. To lock your door, you just need to press this little catch in. That's locked. To unlock, just go for the handle and open the door. But you do have a fly screen on there. But just make sure that if you've got dogs, when you shut the fly screen, they don't run through it, because it's there to do a job. Underneath the floor, underneath this compartment between your two dinette seats, is the location of the leisure battery. So you've got a 105 amp new max leisure battery on board. Obviously make sure this is charged in the winter, because if you don't charge the batteries in the winter when it's storing either in the storage yard or on the drive, some of the new batteries don't then take a charge once they've been left. So if you are putting it into storage, just take a 10mm spanner, take the two terminals off, lift that battery out and take it home with you and charge it on a battery car charger in the garage every so often. Or if you're at home, hook it up, put it on hook up for a few days a week, not all the time, but a few days a week or daily for a couple of hours on a timer, just so that the battery voltage is kept charged up so that the battery doesn't break. So to make the dinette into a bed, you need to use your table. So what you need to do is lift your table to 90 degrees, because at the back there's a channeling that connects it to the rail. So you want to take it off the rail like so. You then want to fold the leg, so you can fold it all the way, or you can fold it in half. You want to fold it in half because it gives a bit of added support this end. And then what you need to do is lift the cushions up, and there's a rail. So you see this rail here, on both sides there's a rail. You pop the table into there. And then what you want to do is, using the infill cushions, you want to form the bed just like so, and then you've got a double bed across this side of the vehicle below the double drop down. To operate your consumer unit, so you've got all your 230 volt MCBs, and then you've got your main trip tester. So if you think that your vehicle isn't receiving 230 volt, try and trip your vehicle out. That's the best way of knowing if you're receiving it, or if it's a problem with your end or the site's end. If your vehicle doesn't trip out, then it means that you aren't receiving 230 volts. So it's not the motorhome side, it's where you're getting the power from. So we're receiving 230 volt now because it's tripped out. And then you've got all your individual appliances, and then you've got all your 12 volt fuses. So do carry some spare blade fuses with you. You'll only need 10, 5, 15 and 20 amps, which you can get from most car shops, Halfords, Euro Car Parts, or online. At the back, underneath your forward facing double dinette seat, you've got these two pipes here, which is your air blown system. Should you have any problems with your air blown system, if you look right between the two pipes at the back, there is a red button which you can see when you look in. So you just press the red button, which is a reset button, which is right down here. You'll see when you look at it, and that just resets the space heater should there be any problems. So further back, underneath the same seat that your consumer unit's under, is your boiler. So your boiler heats your water, but in the winter you need to drain the boiler off, because if you leave the water in the boiler when not in use and the temperatures drop, it could freeze and it voids any warranty, and it's a very costly mistake to make. So what you need to do is, looking directly down, you'll see this yellow toggle. It's quite hard to see, I know, but what you need to do is, when the toggle's pointing to the driver's side of the vehicle, which means the boiler's shut, it can hold 10 litres of water at any one time. In the winter you drain it off, so what you do is you lift it up, stand it up on end, and the 10 litres of water will drain directly out underneath the chassis. Leave it stood up during the time that you've got the vehicle not in use and drain down. You'd also drain off your fresh and your wastewater, and then you'd leave all the taps in the open position throughout the vehicle. Remove your shower head from your shower hose and lie that in the shower tray to stop any water from coiling up and then potentially freezing. And then when you come to reuse the vehicle, shut your fresh and your waste, close your boiler, so lie that tap back down pointing to the driver's side like it is now. Close all your taps, fill the vehicle with cold water via a hose pipe, then come in, put the panel on, put the pump on and go to the cold side of the tap first. You'll get a pressurised flow of cold water straight away, and then as you start to turn it to the hot, it'll start to cough, splutter and make all sorts of noises, and that's pressurising the water into the boiler. So it's transferring the water, it's pushing all the air out through the taps until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. This is when you know that your system is then primed. So underneath the long bench seat in the back lounge behind the washroom is the location of your freshwater tank. So it's on board on this vehicle, and this is it here. To drain it off, looking directly down, you see a little bit of pipe, and it's got a drain valve on. So here there's a little switch. Turn it to the back of the vehicle, you'll hear the water escaping underneath the vehicle, and you'd want to drain that down in the winter if you're not using it for a couple of weeks, or you've taken on any source of contaminated water. But more so in the winter, you want to ensure that this is fully drained down so that the water doesn't freeze. As the tank's on board, you don't want this tank splitting and flooding the vehicle. Obviously this is just a pipe from the outside freshwater fill, so you can fill it with fresh water. And you've got a bit of storage down beside the wheel arch. So in the back of the vehicle, you've got a U-shaped rear lounge, which created into the third double bed, as this is a 6th berth. Lift this cushion off, slide these forward, and be able to slide it all the way. And then what you need to do is use the backrest as your infill cushions. Pop that into there. Remove this cushion because you don't need it now, it's just for when you make the lounge. And there you have a large double bed across the width of the back end of the motorhome. In the back lounge above your cabinet, you do have a 12 volt for a TV aerial, and two 230 volt sockets for charging. If you were getting a TV, we always recommend the 12 volt ones, because if you stopped from travelling at the services, you can put the telly on if it's 12 volt. You don't need to have hook up for it to work. Or if you go wild camping, a 12 volt telly will work, whereas a 230 volt telly, you've got to be hooked up for this to work. You've got some storage under the floor at the back, with some underfloor storage. A little switch here for your nighttime lights, so you can turn them on at night so you can see your way out of the bed onto the ground, because there's a little step here. In your washroom, which is a combined shower, cubicle, toilet, to operate the toilet, ensuring that the pump's on, you'll be able to press the blue button and you'll get some fresh water flush. So the flush on this is a mixture of fresh water and pink in a header tank on the outside, with it being a Bailey, very similar to a Caravan. So you'd always put a little bit of water in the pan first, and then you want to open the cassette, which is the blade. So to open the blade, which allows it into the cassette, is this grey lever here. So slide it to your right, so push it away from you, You can then use the toilet. Flush after use and then slide this back to the left to isolate, which will then disengage the mechanism, and then when the cassette is full, you'll get a light here which indicates that the cassette's full. You can pull it out the outside should the mechanism be disengaged. If you do it in that routine that I've just shown you, you should be fine. But do be careful with pressing the button, because once you get no liquid and you hear the motor, you don't want to burn the motor out, so you would want to go out and top it up with some pink and some water. Toiletry cabinet, towel holders, which also doubles up for coat holders if you've been caught in the rain, because it is heated. So if you could put your wet clothing in here, put your heating on high, in here is the smallest place in the van, it'll get lovely and warm. Like I was saying about your shower head, you want to take that off the hose and lie the hose in the shower tray so no water freezes in this pipe over the winter time. And you put your light on the cord there as you walk into the washroom, and your ladder for your drop down bed. So you turn these turnbuckles to lock it into place, turn them, and you'll be able to lift the ladder off the door and then position the ladder back on, turn the turnbuckles to, and then now you're ready to travel with the ladder on the door. So now in the cab, which is based on a Peugeot Boxer, you've got your handbrake to your right, you've got electric windows on the driver's door and passenger, so driver's, passenger, electric windows, followed by electric mirror adjustment on the front cab mirrors. So you've got two mirrors on each side, one being the big one, the bottom one being the blind spot, and the electronically adjustment. So select the mirror and then you can adjust it there to get it to suit where you want it to be. Headlight adjustment and rear fog lights. Your rear view camera, which is on all the time, as well as when you select reverse, and it's a twin camera system, so you get the bike rack and down the back of the vehicle, whereas if you're in any other gear or neutral, you see a little bit further away. Wiper stalk with trip computer on the end, so if you press and hold this, you can reset it, or you can press the trip and go through the middle screen, so it'll tell you your range, your trip distance, your average consumption, your instant consumption, which will only work when you're running, your average speed, and travelling times A. And there's two computers, there's A and B, so it'll go on to do the same, but it'll say trip computer B. Answer and decline a call. It'll scroll through your audio, your radio stations, or your contacts, mute and volume, lights and indicators, six-speed manual gearbox with lift the collar underneath to select reverse, which of course brings on the other camera. And then you do have Traction Plus, so if you're struggling for grip, put that on and it should help you on wet grass or gravel. Hill descent control, which is not really used for a manual, so that's basically just a blank switch, so forget about that, because if you want to slow the vehicle down going downhill, you'd select a lower gear. That's more for an auto. Hazards, locks the cab doors, you'd have to manually lock the habitation door and all your other outdoor lockers. Heated mirrors, so if the mirrors are wet, you can put them on and it should clear the mirrors. 12-volt points, you've got two there, and then underneath you've got cup holders and a USB and 3.5mm auxiliary jack input there. Temperature on the left hand outside ring with the fan speed on the in must be on at least 1 or more for the middle button, which is the air conditioning, to work. On the right outside ring you've got your distribution, so whether you wanted to go to the face, feet, screen, or a bit of both. And then on the outside, whether you're recirculating air within the van or bringing fresh air in. Radio turns on and off here. You've got your volume, FM, AM, DAB. Press 1 to 6 to save your favourite channels, which you can scroll through here on the steering wheel or on here as well. Media doesn't take a CD, is obviously USB auxiliary, which is under here like I've just shown you. And then to connect your phone, you press phone. No phone's connected, connect the phone, press enter. Add a phone. You want to find my car in the settings of your phone that you want to connect. Press pair, and then it'll ask you if you want to allow your contacts to be saved. Press allow and it'll download your phone book. Got a paper clip on the top. This doesn't lift up, it's just a paper clip for site reservations, maps, any bits and pieces you want to keep on the dashboard there. Glove box on the top and a glove box on here. To black the windscreen out, you've got Remus carb line, so pinch and slide in the middle. And then to black the doors out, you've got silver screens with press studs on, and just press stud onto here. They'll go onto there and to that side to black the carb out on an evening.